Okay, so here's the example of standard divisors and standard quotients. All right, it's those same three companies again, Naxon, Erico, and Eurobile. The number of stockholders has not changed. And if you remember, the total population was 10,000. So they are apportioning a 9-member board. And again, it's Naxon, blah, blah, blah. They want to know what is the standard divisor and what is the standard quota. So on the next slide, here we go. The standard divisor, I think I used this color before. The standard divisor, you are going to take the total number of stockholders for these three companies. And if you recall, that total was 10,000, right? Which they do show down here. Here's the three company stockholder numbers. There's the 10,000. And then you're going to divide it by the number of board members, which I did highlight in blue, and there's the 9. So the standard divisor, and round it off to whatever my math lab tells you to. This one rounded it out to 2 places. So that's what they call the standard divisor, which means that's the number you're going to divide by. Get it? Divisor, divided, blah, blah, blah. So you can see in all these, let me change it to a smaller pen. The denominators are the standard divisor. And then for each company, they did Naxon. So here's Naxon. There's their total number of stockholders. That's the numerator. And when they divided, they got 4.23. And then we did Erico, which had 3,700. That's the numerator. And when you divide it by the standard divisor, you get this number. And then we've got Eurobile, which had 1,600. And 1,600 divided by the standard divisor gives you this number. Now, those are what they call the standard quotients. Okay? Standard quotients. It's what you get when you divide. Is there another? No, that was it. Okay. So, hang on a second. What was the question? Standard quota. Okay, my bad. Let me go back to the beginning up here. What was it? Standard quota. All right, standard quota. I don't know why I was saying standard quotient. My bad. Okay, so what will happen is eventually when we start talking about Jefferson, Adams, and Webster, just to give you a heads up on that, Jefferson would look at that 4.23 and he would automatically give Naxon 5. And then he would look at Erico, which is 3.33. He'd give them 4. And Eurobile, 1.44, he'd give them 2. Now that adds up to 11, and that's a problem. And we'll talk about that problem in a bit. If it were Adams, Adams always goes down. So he'd look at that 4.23 and he would just give them the 4. He'd give them the 3 and he'd give them the 1. That only adds up to 8, and that's a problem. Again, we'll talk about that later. And then what Webster did is he used standard rounding rules. So he's looking at 4.23 and he's like, that's closer to 4. 3.33, that's closer to 3. 1.44, that's closer to 1. Okay? Anyway, I'll be doing that again. So that is how you calculate those things. And I'm going to keep going. Next slide. Okay. Quotas. They may refer to 2 types of quotas. The lower quota and the upper quota. Okay. If you round the standard quota down, that is what they call the lower quota. If you round the standard quota up, that's the upper quota. And they call this the quota rule. If making an apportionment, each state is allocated a number of representatives that is between its lower quota and its upper quota, then we say the apportionment satisfies the quota rule. I need a bigger pen again for this. If, when you make an apportionment, each state is allocated a number of representatives that is between its lower and upper quota, we say the apportionment satisfies the quota rule. So here's an example. If you are given the number 5.832, 5.832 comes between 5.000 and 6.000. Isn't that where 5.832 would go in between? It's in between them, right? So, and remember, you're going to be apportioning seats. They have to be whole numbers for that. So if you are given this number and you are asked to assign a value, it has to be either the upper quota, which would be the 6, or the lower quota, which would be the 5. So if I have a 5.8, I'm either going to give it the 5 or the 6. Jefferson would give them, Jefferson, I think I may have said that wrong earlier. Jefferson actually rounds down. He would go to the 5. Yeah, I did. Did I say that right? I can't remember. Jefferson rounds down. I will tell you now. The way I always remembered this is when you write the letter J, you start here, right? And then you go down and twirl it like that, and then do a T across the top. So I'm like, down, 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 down. So Jefferson always rounded down. That's how I remembered it. Okay. And I'm going to stop the video here because I'm sure I've confused you. Confused myself.